pause the recording. Sorry, we missed the first 10 minutes of that. I'll make good notes on it. It's frightening because if people are hitting those neon reflective signs, I'm just glad it wasn't a pedestrian. So yeah, so if this one gets hit, we'll just buy the spring. We'll splurge for the ones with a spring.
Right.
All right.
In terms of, do you know the status of that? We used to have a blinking light that said speed limit, you know, and do you know why it's not up regularly, or because it hasn't been there for a while?
Yeah, it hasn't been. So there's a couple things, and I wish Jim were here and when he comes, we'll catch him on that, because we have I think we have 2, and I think we got 2 more of those units. And they can go in lots of places.
Yeah,
so in
right.
the depot, up on Baldwin Hill, there's a spot, there's a couple in the lake, couple near the lake. But they require charging. Somebody has to really be on it. And that used to be Pat Kessler, and he's been out on disability.
Can you get the
So
okay.
I don't know. You have to charge it. It lasts like a day or 2, or a couple days, and then you got to bring it back in and charge it again.
Got to look at solar or something, because
Yeah.
you see them that have solar. So
Yeah,
I'll
solar would be great. And talk to Jim, because I know
Yeah.
he was meeting up in Warren about the lake. I know the traffic on the lake has been a real issue, trying to get the speeding down under control, especially on 45, because they just paved it last year. So that stretch has people
I'll
going
talk
pretty
to Jim
quickly.
about that. Seems like
So-
we should spring for solar ones. So they're up there
Yeah,
all the
something
time.
so that they're there all the time, especially in the depot.
Yeah.
We know that that's a speeding.
Oh, yeah.
They come down both hills.
Yeah.
So that's a great idea. So I will go ahead and try to purchase that and hopefully get it in place for the summer, quickly, before we lose the whole summer season. I see that Lisa has joined us, and so that brings, I'm wondering if, let's go back and approve the minutes before people have to dash and we lose a quorum. So did everyone receive? I've sent them out with the reminder for the meeting. Does anyone have any issues with the minutes of June 21st? No, do I have a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Thank you, Dan. Do I have a second?
I second.
I'll give that to Kristen. I don't know who that was. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, great. Thank you very much. All right, back to the agenda. I wish I had reversed the order of these.
You can do it. It's your meeting. Go ahead.
But it's all right. I'll just follow the agenda, because one is a sad news and one is great news to share. So anyway, childcare update. As I reported last month, I was gearing up to work on the STEEP grant. We all felt that this project was a really good candidate. It says right in there that daycares are an acceptable use. And we were well on our way into that process, but then it was stalled yesterday. I met in the morning with the chair of the Board of Ed and the interim superintendent, who are not in support of the central office moving up to Chippewa. So the vote on the town finance component at the Board of Finance was tabled last night. And this is just one of those unfortunate things that happens. If Megan were still here, I don't think we'd be in this position. Greg said as much. He said, if she wanted to move up there, and the board wouldn't have said no, but they don't feel comfortable doing that with an interim superintendent, and not all of them were sure that that was the best place for their central office anyway. So we can't put a daycare in a space that's already occupied, so we're going to have to really think about that one. So unfortunately, we're going to miss this funding cycle for the STEEP grant, which was $400,000 that's being left on the table, which is unfortunate. I've been racking my brain since last night, trying to think if we've got any other town projects that would be eligible for this steep grant. This is the most generous round of steep grants in years. I think it's because the state has a lot of ARPA money. So usually the limit's like 150,000, and this year it's 500,000. So, so I'm gonna keep thinking about that, but the deadline's August 15th, and there are lots of things you have to do for one of those applications. I'm not sure we're gonna turn anything around in time. So that's a shame, but that is where we are at the moment. I will let you know, though, that both the interim superintendent and the Board of Ed chair were very interested in potentially moving the central office to the second floor of that building, which we talked about at the Board of Selectmen meeting. The architect did some preliminary looking. It would require an elevator. It would require enough expenses that we decided not to go with that option first. So we will take a look at that, see if we can get some ballpark numbers to have a sense of what that cost would be. And I'll keep you posted to see where that goes.
I'd just say, just a reminder, in the public meeting you had about it, Pete Tagley thought we should build our own building, so.
And this is true.
Go
Pete
back and look
Tagley
at that as an
did-
option.
Pete Tagley did think we should build our own buildings. Well, and it was interesting, Greg and I talked about that yesterday, you know. The cost of renovating in that building is expensive, but I feel pretty confident that building a new building is even more
Oh,
expensive.
no question about
More
it.
expensive, and we don't have a lot of commercially zoned space available in our town. Central office, I think, would be considered commercial. It's office space. They have visitors and deliveries. It may not,
Anyway, so
but
just.
thank you. I know, it's true. It's
just
true.
mention that.
I don't know. We'll keep thinking. We know that we need, that there's a need. It's a survey. I got an email from a parent on Friday. I haven't had a chance to even email back. She asked for her 18-month-old to be put on the wait list. And I don't know this person at all. I'll just have to email back and say, I'm so sorry. We'll see what we can do. So that's where we are on the child care. Yeah.
Michelle, was there any conversation surrounding the fact that the current superintendent is interim?
Yes,
I
so,
mean, and the circumstances might change when they bring in the new superintendent.
correct. They, and I'm not sure how the board is feeling, whether they're gonna wanna wait for the new superintendent. They will probably wanna wait for the new superintendent before they make any big decisions. But, and I support that, I understand that, you know, it's the leader of their district. I don't think that means we have to wait for the new superintendent to do a little initial investigation onto the second floor. Greg was very supportive of that. We as a town have often talked about that space. I mean, we're insuring it. I think they put the new windows in it so we wouldn't lose as much heat out of it. I mean, it's in a town-owned building that we're maintaining to a certain degree. So it would make sense to make use of that space. So I don't think any large decisions will be made until there's a new superintendent, which they're hoping will be January, but you know, we'll see how
Yes.
that process unfolds.
The
Yes.
trouble is we lose the steep grant, we would have to reapply later on.
Yeah,
That's the
and
thing.
the thing about the steep grant is last year, they didn't even open it up. They didn't
Right.
have any in 2021.
Right.
The steep grant that Jim applied for the transfer station was 2020.
Right.
So it's a very, it's a state, you know, it's a cycle you can't always count on, but.
Is there a way to apply for the steep grant, and then if we can't get the building use, just, you know, not use it?
I thought about that. The project just seemed a little too, I mean, and Jim and I spoke about, I was sort of on the fence. I hate to leave this much money on the table, but Jim felt that the project's a little too tenuous to really move forward. I read through the directions again, or the instructions, to see if there was a penalty for withdrawing if once you've been awarded. And I didn't see one, but they don't prefer that. You're supposed to be shovel ready.
And the other problem would be is that the Board of Finance isn't moving forward with the town share either. So we'd make our project less competitive if the town isn't putting any money into it, and we're not gonna, since they've tabled it now because of the Board of Ed's decision, we wouldn't have the matching funds.
Right,
to submit.
right. The timeline for this was tight, and the Board of Finance's approval last night was critical because then it was gonna go to a town meeting. The town needed to weigh in on that
Yeah.
100,000. So we've missed that, so it would be a less competitive application. And
So that's
yeah,
where
I think we can't at this point in good conscience move forward, even though you have 4 years to spend it. So the whole resolution of where central office goes could be resolved before that, but we don't know that it will be. The issue is not the daycare, and the board supports the concept of the daycare. They think it's great, and so does the interim superintendent, thinks the daycare is great and needed for the district. They just have to figure out where their offices are gonna go. And we are not large like New Milford or South, we don't have, lots of vacant space, so.
Does the daycare need to be in the town-owned building?
It does not, it does not.
I was thinking about the bank building. It's close enough to the schools. If you're dropping off your kids, you could drop them off there because it's in the middle of town, but I don't, the bank building that's supposedly going to be empty, right?
Yeah, Litchfield Bancorp is moving out. It's not as big, there's not as much space, but I will follow up because we actually talked about, well, what if central office went in there? Because I'd rather have the kids next to the primary school and central office in the bank space, so.
Right.
Because then I have the playgrounds and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I will follow up, but we did discuss that yesterday morning as a possibility for the central office, but I don't think there's enough space in there. I will ask though. That's a good thought. Any other comments or questions? Thank you. And thank you all for the support in this long and arduous process. You all have shown up to finance meetings and selectmen's meetings and have been on this journey with me through business plans and various other hoops we've been trying to jump through. It is interesting. Hey, Wayne, if you're there, I'm just going to let you know, it was just brought to my attention that any municipal project requires the approval of the planning commission if there is a change in use or an addition to use. So
I was aware of that, and it from planning's perspective, it would have basically been probably the shortest 8-24 referral in our history. I mean, it's hard to make a case that a daycare center would not be consistent with the plan.
I know, well, especially since
I had my rubber stamp ready to go, dear.
I have a quote from the Plan of Conservation and Development at the top of the one pager that I hand out to people, right? Talking about services for young families as we try to attract them. So I knew that planning, and I've been reporting to planning, along the way during the committee reports about the process. So I didn't think that was going to be a challenge. I just would want to let you know though, and this goes to everyone, that actually that's a box that was going to need to get checked on this application. And I didn't know that. So I'm new to the process. If anybody ever has information about boxes, about this whole municipal process, I was on the phone this morning with, I forget her last name, Casey. She's a new member up at our employee up at the COG. And there are a bunch of transportation grants that are about to become open. They're working on the application requirements, but the state likes things to be shovel ready, which means I need architect and engineering plans, planning approval, town vote. Like there's a lot of boxes to check. And usually you have 6 to 8 weeks to do it, which is almost impossible to get on a Board of Selectmen's agenda. Then in time for a Board of Finance, they meet only once a month, and then a town meeting. So, and to throw in a couple of planning and zoning as well. And so it's weird to me that you have to do all of that for a project that's still kind of in concept, but you need, they want to know that you've got the signups from everyone. So we're gonna just keep, I need to just keep moving things forward and getting them ready in case a grant opens up.
Yep.
So that it's, you know, all done in the folder and ready to go. So I will keep you posted on those further projects. I was talking about the Titus sidewalks that we worked so hard on last year with the engineers and with all the meetings, public meetings we had. So there are some grants opening up, hopefully, that this would be a good project for. And it will be a quick turnaround when it comes. So I'll keep you posted. All right, any other comments or questions about that? All right, I am trying to share my screen, but it is not cooperating with me.
Things.
Because I wanted to move on to the Welcome Center. Why?
While you're doing that, this is a side question. Does anybody know what is intended by the community masterminds conversation every Friday for a half an hour for the next 19 weeks?
I do a little bit.
Can you give us just a sentence?
I saw that go in the selectmen's meeting, and my husband asked me about it. He was selectmen's email, and my husband was very confused as to what that was. It is a conversation. I've attended one or two in the past. It's been a while. Oh, it's telling me my file's unavailable. They are hosted by Sarah Guillemette, who has her office up on the green. It's Washington Home Care. She helps place assistance for elderly care. So she does the vetting of these employees and then helps people find a good fit. But she started these conversations during COVID when we couldn't meet in person and there was some troubleshooting going on. So in those early meetings, it was mostly healthcare people, and the ambulance was represented, and healthcare providers in town, and Jim and I attended a few, and it was either the latest information we were getting from the state or an update on, so it was sort of COVID related, but now it's morphed into just anything that's going on. One of the things that I was able to help with was when Heidi Johnson from the ambulance was on the meeting. She said they were running a training course, and they were having a hard time finding new EMTs. And we were able to put the flyer in the selectman's email, and I was able to get her flyer up to the high school, and they ended up getting 4 high school students to sign up for the EMT course that year. I think that was 2021 or so. I think it was last year. Anyway, so that kind of thing, just sort of troubleshooting. Hey, I'm having this issue. Does anybody have any ideas on how to solve it?
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's. Oh, I am so sad. I am trying to share a file that I had open on my computer with the preliminary designs for the Welcome Center. And for some reason, the pathway, it's not liking. When we run meetings in the conference center, we're not on our own computer. We're on the conference computer, so we have to sign into. And I had it open. This just frustrates me. Well, I'm gonna try one more time. Share. All right, are you seeing the
Yes.
Veterans
Yes.
mural wall? Yay! All right, so I'm so excited to share these preliminary designs from Julia and Zoltan at Sandro Max. We contracted to work with them. Let me see if I can reduce the size a little so you can see the whole wall. So I'll just show you each wall, and then I want to hear some feedback, but these were their preliminary ideas. This is the first wall. That mural is actually a big wood cut that is in there currently and is going to stay. And what they were thinking of doing is putting on either side of it, a listing of all the places in town where there are tributes to our veterans. And I met with Pete and Steve Williams to make sure we're not missing any, but it's kind of talks about some of the memorials out in front of town hall. There's a list inside town hall. There's the various cemeteries have tributes. There's something in the Legion Hall. So a place, it's sort of a directory or a map in case somebody is visiting and looking to find, maybe their grandfather or somebody who had served in the military. And then labels for the pictures that are going to be on the other wall, one of the other walls. All right. So then this is the wall with the double doors right in front of you. And these are portraits of some of the more famous veterans here in Washington. And the key to that was on the side wall over by the woodcut. Here, Jay, I also have a print for you. And I don't know if those have been picked yet. Pete had and Steve had some ideas of who they thought should be there. Plus we've got, it just depends on the records that we have access to, but it is above the doors. So it'll be large enough that you can see it, but we don't want to go up to the, you can't read things up above it. So it's not going all the way to the ceiling. And then this is the wall to the right. This is where we would have our new map that we've developed with the map, the inserts of each of the towns, and a space for our guidebook. And this is something we've talked about, some either brochures for some of our nonprofits, or some that we develop ourselves. We've talked about developing one for like a direct to our farms, for example. During the season, it's hard to find Averill, it's hard to find Walden Field and the Starberry. So we've talked about putting those together. So we would definitely carefully monitor this so that it doesn't become either junky or full of like flyers for businesses and things like that. So we can talk about how that's monitored, but there would be a rack right there for information. Then this, as you go into the little hallway towards the restrooms, this is where our water bottle filler is. I think it's actually centered on this wall, but it hasn't been installed yet, so we don't know exactly. And the idea is that it's about the stations that were here in Washington, because the Legion Hall is one of the old stations. Yeah, it was moved there. It had to be moved. And Dimitri told me that it's not the original one because that one burned down because embers from they used to have to fuel the coal fired
Did Dimitri see it burn down, or is that?
No, Dimitri did not witness it burning down. But so it'll have the various stations with information, a timeline, and some key information. So there'll be pictures and then some information about the various stations. And then the wall opposite that is just one of the favorite pictures at the Chicago Railroad with the workers there. I don't know, and then just they have a label, and one of the ideas was that we would somewhere in the labels say for more information, go to the museum, so that people
Yeah.
visit the
Very
museum up there, because it is really a wonderful display about Washington. So that is the concept for the moment. Does anyone have questions or
Great.
comments?
I love it.
Looks
I do
great.
too. I think it's so helpful to have the visualization, we're standing in there looking at these blank walls, and I think this really helps. I do know too that they wanted to paint these walls this dark, the deep blue color, the ones near the restroom, because that's going to be the color of the front door. And I think the rocking chair, they're picking up the blue from the Legion sign, so that it's not all just white and tan, to just give it a little color pop. And it goes with the Washington, oh shoot, they don't have it here. They have the QR code that brings you to our website, the Explore Washington website. And the logo has the blue, the blue and the red. So keeping that consistent. That's blue.
Timeline.
Well, actually the design, this is not the holdup.
Yeah.
We've been trying for 2 months to get a plumber to put
Yeah.
the
Water box.
water filler in, and that needs to go first. As well as the electric, the new light fixtures. The painting, and then the painting has to come. So this is actually last.
Right.
And the painting was in this year's budget, so it was not, the money wasn't eligible until July 1. I'll have to check in with the buildings and property to see where we are on that schedule. I did not order the sign because we didn't want to welcome people to a construction site. So all the signage that I was in charge of is on hold until the painting and the
Who's dealing with the plumbers, that building and property?
That's buildings and property. So Bob Papson, Joe
They're great,
Fredlin, Bruce Adams, they've been
Yep.
contacting, trying. Jeff Berry was going to, he tried a couple of times and wasn't able to gain access, and he's just been so busy. I didn't know,
Yeah.
he
right.
showed up at 7:30 in the morning.
Come across the street, right?
I could have gone, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're trying,
Great.
it's a challenge. But I like the design, it helps picture it, visualize. Does anyone have any other feedback, things that they'd like to see?
It's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Is most of the work going to be done by volunteers?
What work?
The actual painting, the actual installations, or is it going to be, are we going to contract this out? Or is this going to be volunteer from the town putting this together?
Well,
Plumber, you got
it's contracted, I guess you would say, the buildings. and
Okay.
property they put it out to bid. They've already accepted a bid. The contractor for the painting. And
Fine,
it's not
great.
just painting, he's cleaning and power washing and staining the railings, the flagpole's getting painted, the outside of the building's getting painted. The grout in the bathroom is getting cleaned. So it's a big job. It's not
Perfect.
volunteer. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
I'm
So
actually
then,
not,
Miss
yeah, go ahead.
Michelle, how is the building going to, like, who, and I guess following up with Dan, with the volunteer thing, how is it being maintained? Who's maintaining keeping things full and all that, and then also keeping it open and whatnot, weekends and all that stuff?
So the bathroom part, unless I haven't heard any change. It's open 9 to 4, 7 days a week. Is Ginger still opening it on the weekend?
She is, but but we're funding that. So that's why I'm trying to figure out how all that's coming out, if that's something I have to be putting into my budget every year, because we've been paying Ginger to do that out of the WBA budget.
Right, so
So
Ginger's
that's-
opening it on the weekend and the town is cleaning it. And and I think Joan or Leslie brought this up in one of our previous meetings, about the additional cleaning, and we were just gonna keep an eye on it and see if it needed more. So the town is cleaning it and maintaining the space and providing them the supplies, the toilet paper and the hand towels and all that. And opening it Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. I think Friday, you know what? It's interesting because I know Pam at this point leaves early, I think on Fridays, but I think it has been open. So I'm not sure if she has somebody else closing it. I tried it, I'll have to follow up and see, but I haven't heard any complaints. We haven't done a big push on it yet because the water filler is sitting in a box in the foyer, the insulation is hanging out. It's like, we haven't made up our signs to promote the Welcome Center because it's not really very welcoming yet. So
Michelle, are you gonna do any ribbon cutting or anything like that for promotion?
I would love to. I would love to. But at this point, I can't even predict when this will be finished. I mean, let's talk when things are in progress, when we see things moving. And as soon as the painting is done and we're starting to do the signage, I'll get the sign ordered. I didn't want to order it and have it sit somewhere for months. So I think it's a great idea. Let's talk as we see progress. I think the ribbon cutting and then the promotion, we should do an article in the newsletter.
Yep.
Maybe we should do an article in the newsletter regardless, just so people know that it's coming. Like with a graphic of the. What do you guys think of that?
Good idea.
Why not?
Yeah.
Get it going.
So we'll just say that it's in progress and coming. Hopefully by September, they'll actually see some progress. And that will be a way to promote the restroom, the 9 to 4. All right. Thanks, great ideas. All right. I'm gonna stop the share. I'll send you guys the PDF so that you can take a look at it. And if you have any suggestions for the design. I have been in contact with Audra at the library because Stephen Barkus has left the museum. They're hiring a new curator, and hopefully we'll be able to get all the images that we want. Julia and Zoltan thought they had some of these on file from when they did the museum display, but they weren't sure they had all the high res. So there are a few things for us to work out, but it should fall into place. All right, any questions? Hearing none on that, let's go on to new business. I wanted to thank Dan for bringing to my attention the Southbury's Economic Development Committee forming a subcommittee on arts and culture. And just to give you a quick background, we talked about this last year. We all know on the EDC how important arts and culture are to our community. And the selectmen had asked if I could see what I could do about getting an arts council started. So we had last year 2 meetings, one in April and one in May. I was looking back at my notes from those. We had over 15 people in attendance at each of them from all the various arts community organizations, nonprofits. But there didn't seem to be a lot of, nobody took it on as something that it wasn't getting a life of its own without me. It wasn't forming a council that was independent of
you.
Of me, yeah, right? So I just let it sit for a little bit. We did our arts postcard this year like we did last year, and I figured we'd sort of regroup in the fall because everyone's so busy in the summer. And then Dan shared this arts and culture subcommittee of the EDC in Southbury. And I just thought, well, maybe that's a way to move forward with this, continue the conversation, just have a subcommittee of the EDC. Maybe somebody here in the EDC would be willing to sort of take that on as to chair that and oversee that. And, it could be something that meets quarterly or bi-monthly or monthly if people feel the need. But I feel like if maybe we get it started and we give it a structure, there are a lot of people excited to talk about it and coordinate, and maybe we could get that off the ground again. But I wanted to bring it to the EDC to see what you thought about that idea.
I think it's a good idea. Can you get somebody from the Art Association, maybe? WA?
Yeah, so Dan and I fortuitously in front of the market had a lovely conversation with Simon from the who is the new executive director at the Art Association. And he was asking me about some children's programming and not stepping on the toes of ASAP, but wanting to fill some gaps. And it would dovetail perfectly with an arts council, just coordinating what's happening in town, making sure we're not duplicating and that we're filling in the gaps, and that the arts and culture people are coordinated. So I tried to set up a meeting with him before today and it just didn't happen, but we've got one on the schedule for August. So I was kind of hoping he might take lead on this, but I haven't asked him, so that's not really probably fair to say. I also felt like if we provided the structure to allow that conversation to happen, hopefully organically, more will grow out of that. Does anyone have any? I mean, so Trisha and Kristen both thought it was a good idea. It looked like Robin was sort of nodding her head.
I think it's a good idea. I definitely can't head it, but feel free.
Thanks, Lisa.
I think it's a great idea.
I hear
I'm
Lisa
sorry,
volunteering to be
somebody
the chair.
From Judy
Would
Black.
somebody from Judy Black be a good contact? Because they do all those art exhibits, maybe, I don't know. When they get kids exhibits and stuff in there, I don't know if they have more knowledge. I mean, I don't know much about art and culture. I don't know much about art and culture, and I don't have contacts in that field, but
Well,
somebody like that.
I will let you know that at the 2 meetings we had in April and May of not this year, last year, it was in 2021. Laura from Judy Black was there. We had WA was there, Palabolis was there in force. They sent like 6 people. ASAP was there. Washington Friends of Music. Oh my gosh, Doug Winkle and Martha from the Drama Lights, which sort of, I don't think it's super active right now, but it has been in the past. So we had representation from pretty much all the big hitters of arts here in town. And I think if there's some regularity and some momentum, we'll pick up some of the ones we don't know about. Individuals perhaps who might want to help coordinate or step in or just have a passion for the arts.
Maybe
Can
it's
I
worth
just add-
going to, can you just go to that group and ask if anyone would be willing to head up round the group again and see if somebody can kind of represent the committee and come back to us instead of having somebody on ED. It doesn't look like anybody on EDC is looking to step up to be part of it, to run it. So maybe you can have more of somebody to lead from that group that you're talking that would, come and report back to us as to the needs and different things. I don't know, instead of looking for someone from this group to head a committee. I don't know.
Right.
Michelle,
Yeah, Fran, go ahead.
I think it's a great idea. And I think it would be a good idea, following up on what Lisa said, if there was somebody who would be willing to step forth from that group to actually head it. But I would be happy to help and work with it.
All right, thanks, Fran. Did
One of
somebody
the
else?
things that you may want to do, Michelle, is you may want to set up or ask them to set up an ad hoc committee to review and put together a plan rather than step in. I do want to just tell you that in my tenure with the WEDC, we tried twice to create something called WACA, Washington Arts and Culture Association. And we came up, and I bought several rounds at the GW Tavern in order to sort of loosen up the conversation.
That's a
And
good strategy, Dan. I like that.
And we came up short both times. So what you may want to do is, rather than start with the ambition of of assuming that the committee is operating and step into what it's going to do, would be to step back one step and ask them to create, okay, and we can talk about them in a minute, but ask them to create an ad hoc committee, let's just say, that would operate for the next 6 months, looking at how it might enhance what they're doing, sort of lay out a plan, and then from there you can step into the plan. It'll also give them a chance to get their own voice.
Yeah, I hear you. I
That's it.
feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of what we tried in April and May,
Yes,
and then nothing happened. That's why I was thinking, and I'm willing, especially if it's quarterly, I'm willing to post a meeting and start the Zoom and put together even if it's just a forum for conversation. I'm hesitant to sign the EDC up for any kind of work. I don't want to all of a sudden the EDC to be hosting and creating events. I need them to step up, but I'm very willing to provide the forum for their discussion. I'm willing to send the email saying, hey, we're having this meeting, share your ideas. And if something grows out of that and they want to tackle it, or it dovetails with something we're already doing, whether it's the newsletter or a postcard. But
How did you get people to sign up for the community center? Could you approach it the same way you did that?
The short, I can answer that as the one person at the meeting who has spent his life in the arts. I can actually offer some insight on this. Dan is closest to reality here. You have to get them all to want it before it'll go anywhere. Arts organizations have lots of experience dealing with things like arts councils and whatnot, and they generally aren't good experiences, because in my 30 plus years in the music business, I can tell you that these organizations invariably end up having disagreements over two things: money and schedules. They all want to fight for a shrinking arts money pie, and they all want the primo dates for their events. And that, Michelle's nodding, I can see, and that is, as somebody who did this for a living for decades, that I can tell you that has not changed at all. So I think Dan is right. You have to get these folks in a room and you have to get them to decide amongst themselves what they want out of it before you even go any further.
all right. Well, I'm certainly willing to do it again.
And Michelle,
It sort of sounds to me like you're
Michelle, something else to consider too. I mean, this
Yeah.
is 2022, not 2021. And, to try it again in a different really time frame might make sense.
That's a good point, Fran. I appreciate that, because these are different times. So, well, I thought I would float that to the EDC, see what you thought. I will, not right now, after the summer. These are a little crazy right now, but in the fall, I will throw it out there again and post it and see what kind of turnout we get and see if we have people step forward. If they don't see the need, I mean, the thing is, we as the EDC recognize the value they bring to our community, and that's why we did that postcard, because we know that when people come to town to go to a concert or to listen to music, they're buying lunch, or they're stopping for dinner, they're shopping, or they're, you know, what, all of those things. So we know how important it is. And we're just thankful that they all keep doing their thing, but I'll keep you posted. Thank you, Dan, for sharing that. It was a June release from Southbury. And I appreciate that you've always got your eye on what the EDCs in the area are doing. That's helpful. All right, there's nothing else except for the report of the WBA and the selectmen, and I didn't see Jim come back. Fran, Lisa, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Is Lisa still here?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. Yeah. We don't really have much to report. We're working on some of our like insider stuff, I guess, just membership things and things like that. So yeah, we don't have really much going on right now, given it's the summer and everyone's super busy.
Yeah, I know, super busy. I'm just writing that down. All right, unfortunately, Jim is not here. Jay, did you have anything from the selectmen you wanted to share with EDC?
Not today.
Not today?
Not today, but thank you.
Jay, is there any understanding of what's going to happen to the bank?
Not that I'm aware of, Dan.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can ask
My
Jim, but-
understanding is that rather interestingly is a separate real estate unit. In other words, it's not owned by whoever owns the building. It's almost like a co-op. And my understanding is that unit is for sale, and they may be negotiating with someone to acquire it or to buy it. That's why I was asking whether town hall knew anything about it.
Well, I don't, but Jim might, but I'll ask him for the update if he knows anything at the selectmen meeting on Thursday, Dan.
Okay. I also understand that Berkshire Photomics is leaving.
That is true. I did hear that from Jeff, but I didn't have a date. Do you have a date, Dan?
I don't have a date. My understanding is he's going to Torrington. So when he goes, my understanding is that he will go wholesale. In other words, everything will come out of there.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well. When he talked to me and he was looking for space, he said he was looking for 10,000 square feet. So,
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I wonder how many square feet that is though. Central office would fit. Anyway.
Were they over there? No.
I don't know. All right, do I have any other comments or questions that people want to share?
Thank you.
No, you're
Thank you.
welcome. Thank you all for attending.
Thanks,
on this
Michelle.
Soupy day. You're welcome. All right.
Thanks, bye. Oh, motion to leave.
Motion to adjourn, yeah.
Adjourn.
All right. Thank you. Have a wonderful week.
Bye all.
Hey, Michelle, is that
Yeah.
meeting on for 6 o'clock tonight?
Yes,
It's
that is
still-
on for 6. Absolutely. I'll explain. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
see you later.
I'll see you.
Bye.